desert wind howled across the abandoned colony, blowing ash and dust through the broken streets. Tall towers stood half-collapsed in the distance, their steel bones reaching up like the fingers of the dead. A single figure ran across the scorched earth, barefoot, shirtless, blood smeared across his chest. His muscles rippled with every step. He had no food, no water, no weapons, and yet he ran like a predator chasing its prey. Inside the alien scout command station, the blue-skinned soldier stared at the screen in disbelief. Her name was Sira, and she had never seen anything like this in her life. Behind her, the commander approached slowly. She was older, stronger, the one who had led dozens of extermination campaigns across the Outer Rim. Her armor was black, her voice calm. "Status?" she asked. Sira didn't look away from the screen. "He's been running for 3 days." The commander raised an eyebrow. 3? That can't be right. "No supplies?" "Nothing," Sira replied, voice uneasy. "No tech, no food, not even shoes." They both watched as the human sprinted down a ruined street, dodging debris like he had memorized every crack in the road. The man looked wild, hair soaked in sweat, body torn from dozens of injuries, but his eyes were fixed. "Not scared, focused, he should be dead," the commander said softly. Sira nodded slowly. "That's what I thought too." Then she zoomed in. The human's mouth was moving. He was talking to himself. No, he was repeating something, a chant. She turned up the audio, but the words came through broken, distorted by the storm outside. The human's voice was low, but steady. "Keep moving. Keep hunting. Keep killing." The commander stiffened. "Get our perimeter guards on alert." Sira hesitated. "Ma'am, we aren't the ones hunting him." There was a long silence. Then came the commander's whisper. "No, he's hunting us now." Outside the facility, the heat shimmered on the horizon. The alien soldiers stationed at the outer walls were restless. The last report said the human had escaped during prisoner transfer from an underground prison ship. According to records, he was supposed to die within hours, but that had been 3 days ago. He hadn't just survived. He had moved straight across the desert like a blade cutting toward their base, and everywhere he passed, patrols went silent. The guards assumed the sandstorms had swallowed them. But Sira had checked the drone footage. She had seen the shadows. Not natural, fast, silent. The kind that slipped into barracks at night and vanished before dawn. At first they thought it was a weapon. Then they realized it was him. Inside the base, lights flickered. An alarm buzzed once, then went dead. The commander turned to Sira. "Lock down the hangar. If he gets to a ship, we won't be able to track him." Sira's fingers flew over the controls, but the system stalled. A new signal came through. One of the motion sensors from the southern wall had activated. Then another. Then 12. He wasn't coming alone. Sira's heart pounded. He's leading something or someone. The screen flashed. The human had stopped running. He stood in the center of the main road outside the compound, breathing hard, covered in dust and blood, and smiling. He lifted his hand. The perimeter lights flickered, then every drone camera in the sector went black. The base fell into silence. No alarms, no lights, just the deep hum of emergency power as backup systems tried to restart. Sira's fingers hovered over the control board, but the screen in front of her remained dark. All security feeds were gone. No video, no audio. "No heat signatures, it's not a glitch," she whispered. He shut them off. The commander said nothing. Her face was like stone, her eyes locked on the static-filled display. This wasn't a prisoner anymore. This was a threat. A trained one. Maybe even something worse. "Arm all units," she ordered. "Internal patrols." "No one goes alone." Sira nodded, her chest tight. She tapped her earpiece, but there was no response. Every comm line was silent. Even the scout units outside the wall. They had been stationed at every access point. Now, nothing. She tried to speak again, but a soft thud echoed down the hallway outside the control room. Both women froze. Another thud. Closer. The commander raised her weapon and moved toward the door. Sira followed, her pulse racing. The corridor lights flickered as they stepped out, weapons ready. The air smelled different, burnt metal, oil, and something else. Blood. They moved carefully, boots soft against the floor. The sound came again. Not footsteps. Not breathing, dripping. As they rounded the corner, Sira stopped. A guard lay slumped against the wall, armor cracked open like it had been torn by claws. No burns, no blast marks, just something brutal and fast. His eyes were still open, he never even got to scream. Room by room, the commander said. He's inside, but how? Sierra asked. The doors were sealed. The commander didn't answer. She already knew. This wasn't about brute force. He had studied their base, their systems, their blind spots. He hadn't escaped and run blindly. He had let them see him, let them track him. For 3 days he pulled them into a trap, and now he was closing it. Suddenly one of the hallway lights burst. The sound snapped like a gunshot. Both women flinched, and in the reflection of the shattered glass, Sierra saw him, the human, just for a moment. Standing perfectly still behind them, she spun around, weapon raised, but the hallway was empty. Her hands trembled. I saw him. I swear, I believe you, the commander said. They pressed on, deeper into the base. Every hallway felt tighter now. Every door a possible ambush. They passed more guards, each taken down with silence and speed. No blood trails. No warnings. This was not a broken man trying to survive. This was a hunter. Sierra remembered something from training. Earthborn humans, before the peace treaties, were known for one thing: pursuit. Some of them could track prey for miles without rest. No food, no sleep, just the will to chase. And if the prey ran, they would chase harder. The aliens called it madness. Humans called it endurance, and this one had both. Suddenly, Sierra's comm clicked to life. A static-filled voice came through. Lock the armory. He's headed. Then it cut off, but they had heard enough. He's going for weapons, Sierra said. No, the commander replied, her voice low. He doesn't need them. He's going to make sure we don't have any. They sprinted toward the armory, but by the time they reached it, the doors were already wide open. The lights inside flickered weakly. Everything was gone, no weapons, no grenades, no ammo, just a message scrawled on the wall in what looked like dark red. You hunted me, now I hunt you. Sierra stepped back, her heart pounding in her ears. He's not trying to escape, she said slowly. He's turning the whole base into his battlefield. The commander's voice was like gravel, and we're already trapped inside it. The silence inside the base was now worse than the alarms, the kind of silence that felt alive, like it was listening, watching, waiting. Sierra stepped back from the message on the wall. The red letters looked fresh, still wet. She didn't ask what the liquid was. She didn't want to know. The armory was empty, completely stripped. Every rifle, every sidearm, even the extra power cells, gone. This doesn't make sense, she whispered. He didn't have time to move at all. He didn't need to, the commander said. He just needed to make sure we couldn't get to it. Sierra looked around. The security lockers were sliced open. Not blown, sliced. Clean, deep, precise. Like something sharper than a blade had passed through. Her mind raced. The human had no weapons when he arrived. No tech, so how was he enhanced? Sierra asked. Genetically? The commander didn't answer right away. There was a program, she said finally. A Terran Black project. Long shut down. Or so we believed. What kind of program? Silent killers. Built to disappear behind enemy lines and erase whole outposts. Alone. Without needing food, rest, or rescue. Designed to make entire warships go dark without a sound. Sierra's mouth went dry. You think? He's one of them. I think that's exactly what he wants us to believe. Suddenly the lights above buzzed and turned red. Emergency lock protocol. That meant motion had been detected inside the reactor wing. They ran, every hallway now felt haunted. The base wasn't a military compound anymore. It was a maze, and he was inside it somewhere. Maybe behind a wall, maybe above the ceiling, maybe right behind them. The doors to the reactor wing were sealed, but the override panel had already been hacked. Not forced, not destroyed. Hacked, cleanly and fast. Sierra keyed the door open. Inside, smoke swirled across the floor. Pipes hissed with steam. Someone or something had turned the heat up. The backup generator was still humming, but the main power core was missing. Gone. Sierra stared. That's not possible. Apparently it is, the commander said. Sierra knelt down. Wires had been pulled out and fused. The system wasn't damaged, it was rerouted. Whoever did this didn't want to shut the base down completely. He wanted to control it. Why would he do this? Sierra asked. He's one man. What does he gain by trapping us here? The commander stared at the dark ceiling. Time, she said. Sierra frowned. Time for what? The answer came with a scream. From far down the hall. One of the guards. They ran again. When they reached the central stairwell, they saw the trail, a smear of red dragging down the steps. But no body, just a line, and above it written in more red, "Still breathing, good." Sierra backed away. He's toying with us. No, the commander said, eyes narrowing. He's learning. They followed the trail deeper into the base. The air got hotter. The power flickered more often. Steam curled from every vent. It was like walking into a forge, a trap. The human had turned their base into his hunting ground, and they were prey. Suddenly, Sierra's headset crackled. It was faint. A whisper. "Where is he?" she asked, but the voice on the other end didn't answer her. It was someone else, breathing hard. It was him. He was speaking into their comms. "You chased me across 3 systems," the voice said, calm and clear. "You took everything. My crew, my blood, my time. Now I take yours." The transmission ended and all the lights went out. Total darkness. Sierra couldn't even see her own hands. The commander reached for her shoulder. "Stay calm. He wants us afraid." Sierra's voice was shaking. "It's working." The base was swallowed in darkness. Not just a blackout, something deeper. Even the emergency strips along the walls didn't glow. It felt like the base itself had died. Sierra held her breath. Her hand tightened around the weapon she still carried, though it felt useless now. The commander was just a shadow beside her, barely visible. "Sensors?" the commander asked. "Dead," Sierra replied quietly. "Thermals?" Sierra checked. "Offline. He's blindfolded us." "No," Sierra whispered. "He made us blind. He can still see." Somewhere in the darkness something moved. A soft scrape, a breath, a creak of metal. Then nothing. Sierra raised her weapon. The commander didn't flinch. "He wants us to fire at nothing. Waste our shots. But how is he moving like this? He's human." "He's not just human anymore." They began moving again. Slow, careful, along the wall. The commander's voice was cold and sharp. "He's cutting us off. Section by section. First power, then communications, then weapons. Next will be the escape routes." Sierra stopped. "Shouldn't we evacuate now?" "Evacuate to where?" the commander asked. "He already controls the outside. He was running for 3 days across that desert, remember? We're not chasing him. He brought us here." The words hit Sierra like a punch. This wasn't a retreat. This was a trap he had walked into on purpose. A hunted man with no hope doesn't run in a straight line for 3 days toward his enemy's strongest fortress, unless he knew exactly what was inside. They reached the med bay. The door was half open. The inside flickered with red backup lights. Empty bed, silence, then a whisper. Sierra aimed her gun. "Did you hear that?" she asked. The commander nodded. Another whisper. Behind them this time. They turned fast, but there was nothing there. Just steam and footprints. Human footprints. Bare, wet, fresh. Leading toward the cryopod room. The commander followed the trail, Sierra close behind. The door opened slowly. Inside, dozens of cryopods lined the walls, most empty, some still frozen. Then Sierra saw it. Pod 19 shattered. Not opened, shattered. Its occupant, gone. "I thought these were for backup med storage," she said. The commander was quiet. Then, "That wasn't a med pod. That was containment." Sierra stared at her. "You knew he was here?" "No," the commander replied slowly. "But someone did." Sierra looked back at the broken pod. The inside was scorched, like something had burned its way out. "Are you saying he didn't escape from a crash? He was already inside this base?" The commander nodded. "They used this place to bury him." Sierra's voice shook. "But why bury a human here? Why not execute?" "Because they were afraid to kill him. They were afraid it wouldn't work." Suddenly all lights turned back on. Full power. Bright. Blinding. The base lit up completely. Sierra blinked. "He gave us power back?" "No," the commander said. "He wants us to see what he's done." They ran back to the main corridor and stopped cold. Every hallway screen now showed a different camera feed. Every feed showed the same thing, the rest of the base. Silent. All guards, down, some unconscious. Some worse, all taken out without a single shot fired. And then one camera feed, zoomed in on the last guard still. Standing, not a guard. Sierra stared. It was the human. Standing alone in the center of the command deck. Looking up. Looking. Directly into the camera, into her eyes. He raised one hand and pointed. The eyed screen flickered again. Now it showed the hallway just outside their door. He was coming. Sierra stepped back from the screen like it had burned her. The human was still staring into the camera. His face was calm, no rage, no panic, just steady eyes like he had already won. He's outside, she whispered. The commander was already locking the medbay door. Seal the vents. Close every backup hatch. But if he's in the systems, he's not everywhere at once, the commander said. If we stay calm, we stay alive. Sierra moved to the control panel. Her hands were trembling as she typed. Most of the systems were still down, but not all. He had only left what he wanted them to see. The screen flickered. A new feed appeared. It was the hallway outside, empty. But one by one, motion sensors began lighting up. Red dots on the map, moving closer. Then they stopped, right outside the door. Sierra aimed her weapon. The commander stood beside her, still and cold. Then, nothing. No sound. No movement. 1 minute passed, then another. And then, the lights went out again. Darkness swallowed the room like a wave. Sierra's weapon shook in her hands. A sound came. Not a scream. Not metal. Breathing. Close. Behind them. She spun around. No one. Just more dark, and then the screen blinked back on for 1 second, enough for a single frame, a face. His. Not angry. Not wild. Focused. Right behind the glass of the medbay wall. Watching. He had gotten inside without opening a door. The lights snapped on again. The commander was gone. Sierra gasped. Commander? No answer. Just her alone in the medbay. Then the door hissed open. She raised her gun, aiming at the entrance. Nothing. No one entered. She backed away. Then a voice echoed from the intercom. Soft. Deep calm. You're smarter than the others. It was him. You watched. You listened. You saw the pattern. Sierra clenched her jaw. Where's my commander? Alive, he said. For now. What do you want? I want the truth, the human said. About what this base really is. What you're hiding below it. Sierra blinked. What are you talking about? You think I ran for 3 days because I was scared? He asked. I ran because your satellites had blind spots. I ran because this was the only way in without being shot down. I ran because I knew the lies were buried here. He paused. And now I'm done running. Sierra slowly lowered her weapon. Her voice cracked. What lies? The screen changed. A new video played, old rusty footage, human. Prisoners being dragged into cryopods, alien guards standing over them. This wasn't a prison, transport. This was something else. The human spoke. Again. Your empire made peace on paper, but you kept the worst of us locked away, hidden from your own people. You didn't just fear our violence. You feared our memory, so you erased us. Sierra stared at the screen, horror rising in her chest. One of the humans in the video looked just like him, but younger, stronger. She whispered. That's you. That was me, he replied. Before they erased my name. Before they made me a ghost. The screen flickered again. Now it showed a lower level of the base, something deep beneath the floors. She had never entered. Rows of more pods, more bodies frozen waiting. You're not the only one left, she breathed. No, he said. But I'm the first to wake up. A hiss echoed through the medbay. Sierra turned. The commander was back, but her armor was cracked. Her hands bound. And behind her the human, tall, silent. He looked at Sierra, not as an enemy, but as someone offering a choice. Decide, he said. Help me wake them, or try to stop me. Sierra didn't speak. Her eyes went from the human to the commander who was breathing hard, blood dripping down her chin. The alien warrior who had seemed invincible hours ago now stood like a prisoner, silent, furious, helpless. The human released the bindings and let the commander fall to her knees. I don't kill unless I have to, he said. I'd rather show you. Sierra kept her weapon half raised. Show me what? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he walked past her and into the hallway. No sudden movements, no fear. He was in complete control. Like the base already belonged to him, and maybe it did. Sierra looked at the commander. Is it true? Were there other humans locked away here? The commander didn't answer, so Sierra followed him. They walked in silence down the lower corridors where the air was colder. Lights flickered dimly, and every few meters, the walls bore old marks, scorch burns, deep cuts, things from another time. The humans stopped at a sealed vault, massive, ancient. It had warning signs in alien script, signs Sierra had never been cleared to read. She watched him place his hand on the scanner. The lock clicked open. How did you? This was built by your scientists, but it was made with our DNA, he said, because it was meant to contain us. Only us. The door slid open. Cold air poured out. Inside were dozens, maybe hundreds of cryopods. Most were still sealed. Some were flickering. Some were empty. Sierra stepped forward slowly. She saw the faces inside. Men, women, human, but different. Some wore tattered uniforms from wars fought long ago. Some had scars across their bodies. One still had dried blood inside her pod. Another gripped something, a chain maybe or a medal. They're soldiers, Sierra whispered. Not just soldiers, the man said. We were survivors. The ones your empire couldn't break. They feared us. So they froze us. Sierra felt a chill in her chest. I thought the war ended. I thought humans signed the peace treaty. We did, he said, but peace came too late for us. We were already buried. He walked to a control console and powered it up. The screen lit with old files, encrypted data long forgotten. Sierra stepped closer. You want to wake them? He nodded. If even 10 survive cryo, it's enough. For what? He looked at her. Not revenge. Truth. They deserve to know what happened to them. And your people deserve to answer for it. Sierra hesitated. She looked at the screen. It showed locations. Dozens of bases across the galaxy. All marked sealed. All marked Terran storage. This wasn't the only site, she whispered. No, he said. It was just the first one I could reach. Then the commander's voice echoed behind them. You'll start a war. The human turned. No. I'm ending one. One your people tried to hide under ice and lies. The commander pulled herself to her feet. If you release them, our High Council will hunt you all. Ito. Human stepped forward. Then tell them to run fast, Sierra. Looked between them. Her training told her to stop him. Her instinct told her to listen, and her heart told her that maybe, he was right. She walked up to the console. Her fingers hovered over the unlock sequence. Are you sure they'll survive? She asked. I survived 3 days in your desert, he said. They're tougher than I am. She looked once more at the frozen faces, then pressed the first sequence. One pod hissed. Lights blinked. The seal cracked open. Inside, a woman with silver hair and one missing arm opened her eyes. She didn't scream. She smiled and whispered, finally. The cryopod hissed louder now. Cold steam poured out around the silver-haired woman's shoulders as her eyes adjusted to the light. Her body was thin, scarred, but she stood like someone who hadn't forgotten who she was, even after all this time. The human stepped forward. She blinked. Recognition sparked in her face. Not shock, not fear. Just a nod. Still breathing, she said with a grin. Then it wasn't all for nothing. The commander stepped back wary. Who is she? The human replied. Sergeant Vela, the last person I saw before they locked me in that pod. Sierra stared at the woman. How long has she been frozen? 200 years, he answered. Give or take. Vela looked around slowly. Her eyes locked on Sierra. Her voice was dry but firm. Alien? Sierra nodded once. Hostile? The human shook his head. Undecided. Vela cracked her neck. Then she's lucky. More pods lit up. More beeps echoed in the frozen chamber. Sierra could barely breathe as the lights blinked on across the long hall, row by row, each one waking another ghost from humanity's past. The commander raised her voice. You don't know what you're doing. These aren't heroes. They're monsters from the old war. No, Sierra said quietly, surprising herself. They're survivors. And your people buried them alive. Vela looked at the commander. Still blaming us for fighting back, I see. The human walked to another pod, his voice calm. We didn't start that war, but we ended it. And we paid the price. He stopped at a pod labeled Captain Aaron Vass. Inside was a massive man, muscle-bound even in cryosleep, with cybernetic arms and deep scars across his chest. The human stared at the glass. If he wakes up angry, step back, Vela smiled. He always wakes up angry. One by one, the cryopods began to open. The room filled with hissing steam, blinking lights, and deep, slow breaths of waking warriors. Some fell to their knees, gasping. Others stood tall, eyes scanning the unfamiliar ceiling. Sira stepped back. She had never seen so many humans in one place. And none of them looked weak. Not one. They were broken, but not defeated. And together, they were dangerous, the commander whispered to herself. This is an army. The human looked at her. No, not yet. But it's a voice. One your empire thought it erased. Your kind couldn't win before, the commander snapped. You think waking the dead will change anything? No, Vela said. But reminding the living might. Suddenly, a distant alarm blared. Sira turned to the screen. A small alien patrol craft had entered orbit. More were following. The high command knew. The commander's eyes widened. They're coming to shut it down. They won't make it in time, the human said. By then we'll be gone. You can't hide them all, she warned. He smiled. I don't plan to. He turned to the waking soldiers. Listen up, he called. They tried to erase us. They told the galaxy we were savage, unfit, dead, but we're still here. The room went quiet. I don't ask for loyalty, he said. I ask for memory. Remember who you are, not what they called you. Vela stood beside him, her voice steady. We remember. Sira looked around. Every human eye was focused, bright, awake, alive, and ready. The human turned to Sira. You helped wake us. That means something. When they return, your name might be on their list. I know, she said quietly. Then you'll need to choose a side. Sira didn't hesitate. I already did. Sira stepped beside the human. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but this moment felt clear. For once, she wasn't just following orders. She was making a choice. The base trembled slightly as a low rumble echoed from deep below. More cryopods continued to open. The room filled with the sound of waking breath and boots stepping down onto cold metal floors. The human, whose name was still unknown to most, moved through them like a leader returning home. Not giving orders, just being present. Every soldier who met his eyes seemed to regain strength. Some even smiled. Sira watched as a young man with one mechanical leg stepped out of a pod. He looked no older than 20, but something in his stare said he'd seen war beyond his years. Vela stood near the back, speaking to another group. 2 women, 1 older man, all scarred and silent. When they saw Sira, their eyes narrowed. She expected anger, but they nodded. Not in welcome, but in understanding. The commander, still standing with her arms bound, looked around at the gathering storm. You think this is a victory? She spat. You're waking soldiers from a war that's long over. You're walking into a galaxy that's forgotten you. That's the point, the human replied without turning. We came back to remind it. Sira moved to the console. The patrol ship in orbit had stopped sending warnings. It was waiting for backup. Within hours, reinforcements would arrive. Not scouts, warships. They'll bomb this site, she said. We know, Vela replied. You're still staying? No, the human answered. We're spreading. Sira looked confused. There are ships buried under this facility, he explained. Not many, not powerful, but enough. Enough for what? To scatter. To tell the truth. To reach other worlds. To wake more. The plan wasn't to fight. Not yet. It was to speak. To spread memory. To plant fear. And then, if needed, strike. He moved to a sealed door at the far end of the cryo chamber. With Sira's help, it opened to reveal an ancient launch tunnel. Dust poured out. The air smelled like forgotten fuel. Inside were 3 ships, small, stealth-built, buried in the old Earth-style launch bay. Their surfaces were scratched, dented, but still functional. We'll divide the team, he said. 3 ships. 3 directions. Where will you go? Sira asked. He paused. Home, she blinked. Earth? He nodded once. Or what's left of it, the commander growled. You'll be hunted. He turned to her at last. I've been hunted for centuries. It didn't stop me then. It won't now. Suddenly a console beeped. One of the ships reactivated. The engines glowed faintly. Systems online. The humans began moving. Loading crates. Carrying their barely awakened comrades. Some limped. Some crawled. But none stopped. The base had become a hive of motion. Sierra helped without being asked. She guided one soldier, then another, toward the loading ramp. She didn't speak much, but in her eyes they saw respect. The human approached her one last time. "You don't have to come." "I know," she said. "But if you do," he continued, "you'll be marked a traitor." Sierra gave him a small smile. "I was born in this empire. Trained by it. Lied to by it. If that makes me a traitor now, then I accept it." He nodded, then gave her a small device. A black badge, simple and cold. "What's this?" He looked her in the eyes. "A symbol, for when others ask what side you stood on when the dead returned." And with that he boarded the ship. Engines powered up. One by one, the vessels began to rise. Dust swirled. Lights blinked red. The base, once silent and cold, now roared with life. They were leaving, but not running, not anymore. The engines roared as the three ships lifted off, one after another, rising from the hidden launch tunnels beneath the forgotten base. Dust and ash whipped through the sky, and for a moment nothing could be heard but the deep thunder of rebirth. Inside one of the ships, the human stood near the front viewport. His hands were clasped behind his back, his eyes locked on the stars above. Not as a dreamer, but as someone returning to unfinished business. Behind him, Vela adjusted her seat harness and activated stealth shielding. Sierra sat beside her, pale but steady. She hadn't looked back once since stepping aboard. From orbit, the galaxy still seemed peaceful. Patrol beacons blinked in rhythm. Trade ships moved along safe lanes. But below that calm was a growing storm. Sierra studied the screen. "Multiple signals are scanning us. They'll track us," Vela said. Even with stealth, the human didn't flinch. "Let them. You want them to find us?" Sierra asked. "No," he said. "I want them to wonder how many more are waking." On the second ship, Captain Vass, his arms now fully recharged, stood like a statue. His voice echoed across the comms, signal received. "Outer colonies already talking." "They've seen the old mark, the badge?" Sierra asked. Vela nodded. "Long ago, humans carved a symbol into their war gear. A single black handprint. The mark of the forgotten," the human said. "Now it returns." The third ship carried the injured and slow recovering. Not weak, just waiting. The silent ones. And yet, every hand aboard was ready. Down below, the base sat quiet, empty. The commander remained inside, bound and silent. Not harmed, just left behind. Not as punishment, but as a witness. As the ships cleared orbit, the stars opened wide. Each ship split off. 3 different paths. 3 different missions. One purpose. Vela spoke through comms. "We start with signal stations. Places they've hidden files, records. The truth is out there, buried deep. Expose it," the human replied. "Not with war. With memory," Sierra frowned. "You really think that people will listen?" "No," he said. "But some will. Enough to make others question. And then, he said, we tell them who we are." Sierra looked at him. "Who are you?" He looked at her and for the first time gave his name. "I was Commander Elias Hart, Unit 3 of the Black Flame Corps, the last ghost of the Human Defense Front." She repeated it softly. "Elias Hart. They buried my name," he said. "But it's coming back." A transmission came through, coded, distorted. Ancient encryption. But Vela cracked it in seconds. It wasn't a message from the Empire. It was from another base, another vault, another sealed human site. Sierra leaned forward. "It says, Gaunt status active, or someone else is already awake." Elias stared at the signal. His voice was low. "They started without us." "Then we make contact?" Vela asked. "No," Elias said. "We stay dark. Let them come to us. If they survived, they'll know how to find the mark." The galaxy was shifting, not with war, with fear. Whispers began spreading in the outer colonies, of humans returning from the dead, of forgotten warriors rising from the ice, of ships marked with ancient black prints vanishing into the stars. Governors sent requests for truth. High Command issued silence, and deep in the corners of the Empire, those who remembered the old wars began to look over their shoulders again. Elias Hart closed his eyes. He had run for 3 days. He had bled across the desert. He had hunted and been hunted, but now he was no longer running. Now, he was remembered, and that made him unstoppable. 3 weeks passed. The galaxy didn't fall. It shifted. Across distant sectors, signals continued to rise, short, encrypted old codes never meant to be heard again. Each one meant the same thing. Another vault had opened. Some held 2 or 3 frozen warriors. Others held dozens. But none were empty. The mark of the forgotten, a black handprint, appeared on satellite feeds, scratched into cargo decks, and even painted across sky bridges in defiant slashes. The message was clear. We're still here. The Empire remained silent. Official broadcasts denied everything. No proof. No confirmation. Ancient systems malfunctioning. But soldiers were being pulled from border patrol. Governors requested backup. And behind every high-security door, meetings turned to whispers. One by one, people began to ask, why are they so afraid of ghosts? On a dry, fractured moon orbiting a forgotten gas giant, Elias Hart stood alone in the wind. The moon was dead. No cities, no signals, just old wreckage. But beneath its surface, he'd found a comms relay buried in old human Terran stone. He activated the device. Dust blew around him as it lit up. The message he recorded wasn't a threat, it was a memory. This galaxy forgot who we were, he said, his voice steady. They painted us as savages, as monsters, as shadows to fear, but they never told you what was done to us. He looked up. We were sealed in cold tanks, buried. Not because we lost, but because we refused to kneel. He let the silence hold. We are not here to burn your worlds. We are here to remind you, truth is heavier than war, and truth has woken. He ended the message. Across nearby systems, the signal spread like wildfire. Illegal channels carried it. Civilians recorded it. Pirate traders posted it on black market boards. Miners carved the handprint into their stations. Children began drawing it in dirt. One rebel fleet commander, once loyal to the Empire, stared at the symbol and said, if the ghosts can rise, so can we. On one of the hidden ships, Fela grinned as she watched Elias's words echo through deep space. He just lit the match. Sierra stood beside her, wearing the black badge openly now, and now the fire spreads. In the third ship, Captain Vass sat in silence beside a frozen pod, one he hadn't opened yet. Inside was a man even older than him, their leader, their teacher. His name lost to time, but soon he would wake too, and then the Empire held one last secret. Buried under their capital world, deeper than even the archives, was a vault of its own. Not to store soldiers, but to contain a machine, one that had watched for signs, one that had tracked the moment the cryocodes were broken. Now it had detected over 70 vault activations across 3 sectors. It sent no alarm. It simply whispered in the dark. The Forgotten Rise. Back on the fractured moon, Elias stood on the ridge, watching the stars. Footsteps approached. It was Sierra. They're calling you something now, she said softly. Oh, the black flame. Elias looked at her amused. That name again? Not as a weapon, she said. As a warning. He smiled faintly. They should have let us die, he said, but they didn't. No, he said. They made us remember. He turned back to the stars, the wind tearing across his coat. Behind him, in the shadows of the moon's cliffs, others were gathering, some human, some not. Not all wars are won by armies. Some are won by those who refuse to vanish, and across the stars, the once buried humans moved again, carrying no flags, just memory, and that was enough.